So how do we turn a presentational component into a stateful component? Well, what we're going to do first of all is we're going to actually have a class, and our app is going to be a class, and in order to have a stateful component, we're going to have to extend React's component. And all of our code that's here, instead of it being here, if we just did this, I'm going to comment out this line, this code that we have here. We'll use it. I'm not going to throw it away. If I just did this, and I go to run this, I'll get an error. And it'll say, hey, look, you need to have a render method. You claim to be a React component. React components need render methods. And so this is just our class syntax. And I'm going to take all this code that I have here, and this is going to turn out to be my render method. So that's step one for creating a stateful component. I've got my class here, I've got my render method over here, and this should work out the exact same way. Again, I'm still not going to have the functionality that I want here. Nothing's going to be changing. And this is where something called state comes in. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put a constructor here, and this is where we would define the initial state for our application. Now, if I just did this and I put in the constructor, one of the rules here is that you have to call super. If you extended from another component, you need to call that component's constructor method. And that's what super ends up doing, and that'll make that error go away. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to end up taking this out, and instead, I'm going to set my state. So my state has to be an object. This is not going to throw any errors here, but if I do this, right, I won't see anything here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my colors, I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to say my state is made up of these colors, because what I want to do is I want to have my state change. That's the only way that React will end up changing anything, is through state. So let's move some of this stuff out. Okay, the only change that I'm going to need to make here, let's move this over. Okay, the only change that I'm going to make here is that my colors are now part of my state. So in order to get my colors, I'm just going to do a little destructuring here, and I'm going to get colors from my state. So in terms of converting from a presentational component, I've ended up creating the component, put some stuff on my state here, and now I'm using my state. My colors are my state. Cannot read property map of undefined. So here are our colors. Oh, I called it color. I need to call it colors. So now this works the same way, but I'm still not seeing any change. And I'm not seeing any change because even though I'm changing this value for colors, I've got to be very explicit. And I've got to go back and say, hey, look, this dot set state. So one of the things I get with the React component, a stateful component, is that I need to say, hey, look, there was a change. There was a change to your state. You need to acknowledge that change. So set state ends up taking an object for whatever properties on the state that you want to change. And so I've modified my colors. And now what I'm going to end up doing here, I'm going to say, take whatever those colors were and set them back on the state. So I took my colors from the state here. I've modified them. But again, doing that does nothing. I have to explicitly say, I need to end up setting the state with these new colors. And now I could end up clicking on these, right? And I could end up making them go away. So again, if you want something to change in your React application, somewhere you're going to have some stateful components. And so here we ended up putting this on our state. We've got this from our state. We've actually modified these values. Again, might not be the best practice. Maybe we should make a copy of it first, but just for the sake of argument, Even if we end up explicitly changing something from the state, that's not enough. We still have to go in and we have to end up setting the state.